Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode 5 of Finding Your True North. We're leading a life of authenticity. It's not only our mission, but also our guide here. I'm Gray Montana.
And I'm Carrie Hayes. And together we are the founders of the True North Academy. And the purpose of this vlog series is for us to explore with you everyday topics in a new way. You can find us and more of our offerings on our website at thetruenorthacademy.com. And today we're going to introduce and chat on the subject of learning. Big topic for a short chat. Yes, right. That seems to be our MO. So, Mr. Montana, since you are the one to consult Webster's, did you consult Webster's on this one?
I did. I'm in the habit of looking things up. Sometimes it's parallel to my interests. Sometimes it's not, but yeah. It does make a good opening. So Webster had to say the definition of learning: the acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience, study, or by being taught.
Yeah.
The acquisition of skills.
Right. And I had seen also the activity or process of gaining knowledge.
That's cool that they're saying learning is more of a process, because I immediately, with acquisition, I immediately went to something that would be hard and fast that you could gather or acquire and keep and store, which in my world, in my mind, isn't exactly fitting. So the process, I appreciate it more.
Yeah. One of the big questions that I wanted to talk about was, does learning require more? And I think that while we're on this subject of whether it's a process or it's acquiring or if it's being taught, what else is there to it? And, it's different from education. You could sit through an education of something without necessarily learning. So when I think about learning, it has to include that next piece of integration. And then it needs to create perhaps a change or an awareness. And actually, you mentioned this when we were talking in a previous episode, when I said, one of my little check-ins that, when I get obsessive about doing something and I'll stop and check in, you asked me, yes, but then do you change anything?
Yeah.
So
we were talking about productivity and how it's measured and the need to check in as you go. Yeah.
Exactly. Episode 3 of productivity.
Yeah.
So so learning is more than thought or education. It is integration.
Yeah, very much so. This is what we do. We talk about the labels or the wrappers in a more intimate way. They're created from something, they evolve from something, they are always deeper than what we can cerebralize. And this is why we're here. And this is fun, I think, to us, and I'm sure stimulating to others. And topic of learning, as it can be broken down, I think first off, it's important to understand that learning is more than just a gathering of facts, hard facts. It's very easy to equate learning with knowledge, and what would be to say those book smarts that you can pick up in a classroom setting, or that you would memorize to apply to life in some way. But learning also applies to the emotional realm. We are learning about certain emotions that would go with particular happenstance, circumstances, interactions, as it might be. And you can look at it individually, or you can realize that we are students of our experiences. We're learning about an experience, and that has more of a collage of facts and features and emotions and feelings that are intertwined to create a certain experience in a learning environment, or an environment that you don't want to learn from. So I look at learning as a qualifier for the way in which we can relate to our environment.
Mm.
What we learn and what is our catalog of experiences ultimately determines what is available to us in the next moment, at the next time, next step to learn. Because obviously, we're not truly perceptive or able to receive what's more than we can comprehend based on our natural progression of learning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And when you talk about what's available for us through perception, excuse me, um, I think a lot of that has to do with desire and curiosity.
Yes.
You know, your level of curiosity on a subject is directly proportional to your retention, to your drive to seek out more information and to fully understand and integrate a topic.
Yeah. So
So,
you just asked, what's the spark to it? What's more?
yeah,
What makes it more qualitative as an experience? What makes learning more effective as a process? It's just that. I think that is the single most important measure, is the level of interest you have in the stimulus, in the environment, the sequence of whatever it is that you're observing. Is it relevant?
yeah, absolutely.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I personally, I've always been one to resist what somebody tells me I need to know, I need to learn. And I think that's more just like an innate understanding that it is not, that they're not me. And therefore, they can't know what's most valuable to me. And if I'm taking their word, then to what extent am I being true to myself, my own ambitions, desires, and uh, purpose as it might be? I mean, what I want to see evolve is something that comes from within me. It doesn't. It's not what my mind looks to confirm from my environment, which unfortunately we always find, if we believe, insofar as our thought process, that it's around the next band, it's the next trend, it's whatever somebody is about to tell us that is important.
Yeah.
It is suspending what our true interest is
Okay.
at that time, and even as a result of that interaction. So you have a communication, you're coordinating a certain event, or you're observing a certain experience. Are you more concerned about how it measures up to somebody else, or are you more concerned about how it makes you feel and where your interest or curiosity might go from there? That ultimately prepares you for learning.
Yeah. Well, as one of my top five strengths, I have learning in my top five. So for me, you know, being told to learn something is okay. I'll certainly look into it, but but I think there's nothing better than having the curiosity to learn, and thankfully I am gifted in the area of curiosity and wanting to know. It's I think I grew up in a household where my father was a big influence, and he could have a conversation on any topic. I mean, I wish I had played that game with him, someday, about any topic, because I'm convinced he could hold a conversation, at least at least a superficial level, on on any topic. And I feel like that is something that is just part of my DNA. I love it. I absolutely enjoy going into the most unique situations far outside my comfort zone, and still being able to carry on a conversation.
Yeah, I think it does develop from a, on the most elemental level, maybe just a fascination with life, fascination with your environment, why it's here, at this time. What is it? What's available to learn from? What is it trying to teach you? What opportunity is it making available to you? And I think curiosity is a good word. Interest and fascination. These are tremendous motivators to pay attention and to receive what can be given.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we on our business cards, frankly, you know, we are experiential learning coaches. So let's talk a little bit about experiential learning. Take it that next step beyond conventional learning into the experiential realm.
Yeah, so experiential learning, it's, I don't know how much it's a catchphrase, but I particularly think that it's a very apt phrase for the kind of coaching or guidance people really could benefit from, because everything that they're hinging their emotions, their thoughts, their considerations of life, their next move, whatever it might be as a particular pursuit or discipline, is hinging on the collection of experiences they've observed, their story, right? It is all experience based.
Yeah.
It's like you're a sponge, and the water molecules that come into your domain, your structure, your the boundary of self, are experiences. Each one individually, collectively, they look like just a life. They look like just an identity. They look like just an overall experience. But individually, they are separate experiences that form that. So I look at an experiential learning coach as someone who would be an interpreter or navigator, co-navigator of such experiences, as a means to call attention to what is important, what is a very influencing uh, part or collection of parts to this story, to this collection of experiences that is a life, and how it can impact your experience now with life, the emotions, the thoughts, the continuance of what conditioning these experiences have had on you.
Yeah.
So there's that part, which is the interpretation or navigation. And then there's another part of being an experiential learning coach that I believe is more of a facilitator for free will, free spirit, which is to say, if you were something, someone, some being other than the collection of your experiences, what would that look like? Who are you? Why are you here?
Yeah.
What is your purpose? I think it starts and ends with experience. It starts with experience insofar as the appraisal of what they are and what they add up to, but it ends with experience as to whether or not they individually or collectively should be part of your purpose, your desire, your interest to learn now.
Well, that's it. For me, general learning, you may be exposed to something, you may have a general experience, and it's a little bit of happenstance whether or not you learn anything from that experience, right? You may repeat that, and not have learned anything, or you may repeat it in a different way and then sort of reflect. When you get to experiential learning, it is a process that you're facilitated through, right? To have that experience, then to reflect on it with purpose immediately following, right? And then to be a little bit more abstract about it, to conceptualize that experience and that thought process into other areas of your life. So you don't have to learn the same lesson over again, that may have negative consequences, in a different realm. You're able to take it from here, process it, and then change it, even though the parameters of the next experience are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So to enact or reenact a scenario that solicits an emotion or thought process that very much, let's say, correlates or overlaps with a previous experience or collection of experiences that people don't even realize that they're emoting from or reacting to
Yeah,
until it is facilitated in a way that would create that microscope, create that consolidation of what really is going on.
that's right.
Yeah, it's a very
And then
powerful
and
tool.
then the really the point to drive it home is to take that abstract conceptualizing and create a new experience, to practice a new way of being with that um, set of circumstances, or creating that emotion, or changing that reaction to that stimulus, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be that you.
Yeah, so to provide a point of reflection to where it becomes more recognizable the next time that they have a
That's right.
similar
Right.
situation, then they can,
Create a new reflection.
yeah, they can realize what doorway has just opened and make a decision to what extent they want to walk through that one or take another one. It becomes more of a connection of the dots instead of all these things floating around in random order and wondering to what extent they have anything to do with each other. It's almost like a sorting out of experience.
Yeah, connecting the dots is a good visualization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's the curiosity behind the whole process of learning is, it's the science behind it is that it does give you a little dopamine hit, so it's no wonder that we get excited about it.
Yeah, no doubt. It is. It's stimulating, and it is for everybody.
Yeah.
So wander on, my friends. Wander on. Okay. Consider the path that's less traveled. Consider that normalcy is just a veil for what lies beyond. I mean, be fascinated by life. God knows there's plenty to stimulate you, and to the extent that you do reach outside of the normal pathways that you've assigned to learning,
Yeah.
who knows what you're going to discover. But I'll tell you one thing, I'll generalize enough to say you're going to do a good job of discovering your authentic self.
There you go. So how about any tips for somebody who maybe doesn't consider themselves to be in a learning mindset, that they just want to go about life in a more rote or they want to be sure and confident that they know what they're doing. They don't want to continually. Any ideas for developing the learning mindset?
Well, can become very abstract very quickly because, in my experience, if somebody is avoiding specific avenues that are right in front of them as a way of learning, there's a reason why they shouldn't be learning it. for one. There's a reason why they should be learning something else for two. And so to recognize a pulling back from information at hand or experience as you might realize it is not to be taken as a faltering, a failure, an inability to conform to what works or what is successful. I think this is where we become miserable, is
Mm.
when we believe that there is a method, there is a system that will define who's good and who's not, who's successful and who's not. If you are not interested, you shouldn't be learning it. There's your rubric.
Yeah, sure. But how about just in general? Like there may be a different subject, like just as far as developing one's, not just their curiosity, but really being more open-minded to taking in something new. And it may not, you and I may have completely different interests in what we take in,
Yeah,
but we could have a similar um, interest in learning, being
yeah.
open-minded.
Yeah, now I gave you the abstract version and what would be more of a holistic approach to learning. Now I give you something maybe that would be a little more applicable to the life that we, or the world we live in and the life that most lead. And that is, to the extent, I mean, we don't want to be a slave to a system. We're not serving our time and suspending our life until we have a better opportunity or environment to learn. Okay, granted. But if you want to be something, if you're compelled to be a teacher, an architect, a doctor, whatever, tell me how a college curriculum has everything to do with being a teacher, architect, or doctor. I mean, I guarantee you there's a lot of people in school out there right now are saying, dude, I don't want to learn this stuff, but I'm going to learn it enough to get a good grade because I want to be a teacher. I want to be an architect. I want to be a doctor. Okay, so there is a relativity there, but now let's back up just one step. Why are you doing it in the first place? Why did you decide to go to college? Why did you decide to learn that job? Okay,
Right.
why did you decide to pursue that avenue, that hobby, whatever it might be? You have an interest in the end result. You have an interest in the lifestyle, the interaction with life as it would be labeled teacher, architect, doctor. It is with that in mind that you understand that there is a necessity to qualify for that journey, that path. And so it's not to be completely of an absolute assessment to say, well, if I have no interest, I'm ruling it out. And well, if that cuts my future off, it cuts my future off. Obviously, there's an understanding that there are sacrifices to be made for a greater vision, a greater good as it could be. However, is your original interest being satisfied? Are you learning what you need to know more today, more tomorrow, more the next day to get closer to where you want to go? Is your initial establishment of interest being met in some capacity? And there are some days it might be 10% on the whole, but if it is, okay, then there's reason for you to be there. There's reason for you to learn. There's reason for you to see the value in what would be not just the focused learning that you're really excited about, but also the indirect or learn information that wouldn't have the same focus or attention, which, for all you know, is making you a more well-rounded teacher, doctor, architect, etc. So
Yeah.
learning with an open mind, as you said, I think is very effective. It's just when you get yourself convinced that there's a particular way to learn, or learning looks like this or like that, to the extent that you forget what your interest was in the first place, good luck.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go with that.
Yeah, no. I think we take a lesson from the kids. Kids learn better than adults, and it's because they play. They learn through play. And I
Sure.
think that's a great way for adults to redevelop a learning mindset, make it playful, learning takes emptying the short-term mind and really delving into some abstract and some fun, and and then, as you say, a lot of reflection. So
Yeah. And yeah, so to the extent that we can play with
yeah,
our work, with our learning, and listen, we'd all be so lucky as to be able to engage all five of our senses with everything that we're doing and absorbing. But maybe that's more of an exercise in awareness than it is practicality, right? Like it's we do in many ways live a very focused, driven life in a way that can be minimalized on a grand scale, which would
yeah.
lead to a larger horizon. So maybe this is a good segue into our next topic.
Our next topic.
Episode 6
Boy, we take up
is,
big topics and the time goes so fast.
I know, right? So episode 6, coincidentally, is awareness.
Awareness.
Talking about awareness to the extent we can quantify it, but it'd be fun to try, right?
Yes, yes.
And in the meantime, if y'all want to get notifications of these blog presentations, be sure to subscribe below and click the little bell so you can have that notification when it comes online.
Very good. And just want to remind you all again that this video series can be found on our blog tab on our website, thetruenorthacademy.com. And you'll also find there the classes, clinics, and workshops that we offer that create the experiential learning to drive home a lot of these topics that we discuss here. So
good, thanks.
That's it for us today.
All right, y'all, enjoy. Be well. Thanks for being with us.
See ya.